Hello, and welcome to a talk on Discover Weekly, how autonomy saved one of Spotify's most loved features from being killed. Or, an alternative subtitle, how we accidentally fixed Mondays. I'll get back to that one. My name is Joakim Sundén, and I'm very honored to be participating in Agile Israel this year. Of course, like most of you, if not all, I hope that it would be under different circumstances and that I would be able to visit the beautiful country of Israel. But I guess I still have that on my to-do list then for better times. So, I'm a consultant at CRISP, a small boutique consultancy, as we call it, in Sweden, helping out with agile transformations and agile experts, coaches, consultants. Before that, I was an agile coach employed at Spotify from 2011 to 2017, mainly in our headquarters in Stockholm, but 2 years I also spent in Boston, and I also worked with our New York and San Francisco offices. I actually moved to the US, and this is me and my family of 4 kids and a wife trying to fit into the strange cultural rites of our new country. I guess it didn't work out because now I'm back in Sweden. I'm also the author of a book called Kanban in Action, a shameless sales plug. It's 40% off with a code. It's also translated to Japanese and Chinese and even simplified Chinese, I know, if you find Chinese too difficult. So, I don't know how many of you know about Spotify or Discover Weekly, but Spotify is a music streaming service and Discover Weekly is a playlist on the service. There you have it. And it pops up in your area of user-generated content or the playlist that you have chosen to follow. All of a sudden there popped up a playlist, not by Joakim Sundén and not by someone else, but made for Joakim Sundén. Intriguing. It even has a picture of me. I click on it, and it turns out it's 30 songs that I've never listened to on Spotify. Spotify still doesn't know if you've listened to it in other places. Maybe that will change in the future. And it's likely that these are songs that you like. So, but let's take a step back in time. Do you remember how you used to find music before Spotify? Maybe something like this. I don't know if you love this or hate this. I used to love it. My mom, not so fond. She'd rather go to the clothes store across the street while I was browsing for records and so on. But then Spotify, of course, came along and did this, replaced it with a search box. And now, all of a sudden, all of the world's music at your fingertips. I love this. I just threw myself at it, started searching for different obscure bands. Oh, they got that one. Maybe not that one, but most of it they had. I was so astonished. Showing it to my mom, however, she's like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to type in that box? What kind of music do you like? Well, the Beatles. Oh, sorry, they're not at the service. We fixed that, by the way. So back at the headquarters, the CEO and one of the founders would say, hey, we've nailed search and play. Congrats. All the technology evangelists and early adopters, they love us. But if you don't know what you want to listen to, our product is useless. Well, that's maybe an overstatement, but something along those lines were said. So, my mom, she would rather listen to radio, just tune into something and lean back and listen. That's what we call these users, lean back mainstream users. So we tried, of course, building radio features on Spotify and see if we could attract them by doing so. But didn't get that far. My take is, I believe that people who like radio, well, they listen to radio and not to Spotify. We also tried with Discover. That's a Netflix Pinterest style recommendations. You listened to of Mice and Men recently. Want to try Motionless Invite? You could just browse these and go on forever and forever. And music nerds love this too. But you know, my mom, she doesn't wake up at Sunday morning and starts browsing through lots of different recommendations. She just wants to tune into something and get started listening. And yeah, we try to figure out how can we reach these lean back mainstream users. And two engineers who were working on recommendations, they thought that there must be a better way with less friction. And there were actually some people considering at Spotify that maybe mainstream lean back users, they just don't want to discover new music. But they said, no, we don't believe that's true. So they came up with an idea and pitched it to the product owner of their squad. He said, let's bring in a designer to play the bad cop, who would say, oh, it's so bloated, you know, there's so many things going on already at Spotify. Why do we need this? And that's a bad idea for this and that reason. So they refined their pitch and their idea, and just really simple and basic. It was reconnecting the dots of things that were already existing in the Spotify ecosystems. So we had lots of data, about 75 million users at the time, on how people listen to music using Spotify as a service. We had great algorithms that we could place music together in micro genres and kind of deduce if this song is kind of similar to that one. And we had a very popular user interface, the playlist, that people understood and loved. So it's really like, maybe you were a user of Spotify, let's say, and maybe you use Discover Weekly, and maybe you put together a playlist that's 20 great songs, and you believe, oh wow, I'm this unique snowflake. No one else has this excellent taste in music and these 20 songs. But the truth is, of course, we could probably find 1,000 people who has the same 20 songs that you do. But here's the kicker. What if we can actually see that many of them have longer playlists than you? What if 80% of them share 2 or 3 songs that you never listened to on Spotify? There's a big chance that you might like those songs. That's the basic of it. Then it's kind of more complicated than that, but that's basically collaborative filtering, how that works. So they asked their squad, hey team, we're going to take off on a sidetrack a little bit. It's still related to our overall mission, so it should be fine. Yeah, sure, go ahead. And they started iterating on it. The couple of engineers and the product owner, a designer helped out, and came up with something cool within a few weeks. And the team started using it and continuously improved it. So cool, awesome. But yeah, just one thing though, and they kept tweaking it. So over time and experimenting, they resolved questions such as, what should the cover art look like? And the best way to get someone to understand that this is personalized content that's interesting for me is to display a picture of themselves. That's how wing we are. So how about you, but with cool colors? We had a Facebook integration, so we could actually use that. You can see at the right under Discover Weekly with the astronaut. That's actually the standard art that we started with. But then we realized that to get more people should actually have this integration. But it's costly to render all these pictures and do an overlay and so on. So is it really worth it? Well, everything in Spotify is A/B tested. We make a small experiment and see how are the metrics moving for those users. And we could see a 10 percentage point lift in weekly average users for those when we use the personalized image. What's the right length? 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours? Well, it turns out that if you have a list of 100 people that perform, or 100 songs that perform worse, because then you don't really feel that, oh, these are for me. 30 seems to be the magic number. If it's like 100, it's like, can you really find 100 songs that are for me? It doesn't feel personalized. How often should it be updated? Every day, the music nerds would say. No, calm down. People won't won't have time to go in every day to check if there's something new. So once a week seems fine. If we get the recommendations wrong, should we err on the side of too unfamiliar or too familiar? Well, we actually too unfamiliar. We don't want to end up with things like, oh, you listen to the Yellow Submarine with the Beatles. Maybe you would like When I'm 64. You know, there's a reasonably good chance that you've heard it, just not on Spotify. And there's another interesting thing that we discovered by accident, that we had left a couple of songs that the user had recently listened to on Spotify. They got their way in somehow through a bug into Discover Weekly. But we learned through looking closely at the metrics and analyzing what was going on that they actually performed better. And with user research, we understood that if you see something familiar among these 30 things, there's a higher chance that you feel like, this gets me. This is actually something that understands my taste. I recognize this. So there was also fixing a lot of content mishaps. Swedish people still to this day complain about getting Norwegian and Danish music. They would never listen to that. Maybe it's a guilty pleasure, I don't know. So the winning formula was 2 hours of personalized music recommendations, refreshed every Monday morning, delivered in a standard Spotify playlist, and an image based on the user's Facebook account. And all the songs replaced every week. And this was really a killer feature, because that meant we created a habit. The user wanted to come back. If you don't come back and check for a week, it will be lost forever. You will never know what recommendations you missed that week. And it was 100% data informed and no front-end development needed. We used the playlist format. And this was interesting because the designer said that we can't do that. You can't put a Spotify generated playlist in the area where the user actually generates their own content or chooses to follow playlists. And there's been the great debacle on the competing service, Apple Music. They had, through a sponsor deal, put U2's new album in the library of all their users. And there was a big backlash, and the designers and people at Spotify were really afraid that something similar would happen. So they really didn't want this, but the team went ahead and did it anyway, as a test. So now what? Well, employee release. They started gradually actually just popping it up in employees' playlists and not saying anything about it. And they saw that it actually started picking up in the metrics. And they could see that it kind of went viral in a small scale inside of Spotify. But they decided to do a proper employee release. That's good with having a product for your company that all the employees use. So sent out an email and did an interesting hack, putting a link to Google Forms in the playlist description. So you could actually do a survey how much you like the music. And responses were coming in, and the rest of Spotify, they were loving it. Wow, awesome, release it. It's as if my secret music twin put it together. Everything in it is good. This is not easy to get right with recommendations. So these were really promising results, and the survey results were great as well. So now what? Well, the CTO has said that any team should be able to ship anything to at least 5% of the users. These were the old days when we had even fewer users. So 1% seems to suffice. That's still, it's 75 million users, so it's going to reach a lot of people. And this, I believe, is the power of autonomy at a company such as Spotify, where you're driven by clear goals. We want to reach the lean back mainstream users, make recommendations that they can easily access, reduce the friction. With that clear mission and goal, you can come up with different experiments and actually try it with real users. So will the rest of the world use it, like it? Well, we'll find out. And they kept the link to the Google form in the description, and people actually found it and answered to the survey responses, and it was a hit. The user metrics was really, really great. And it turned out that only 2 comments on 1,200 survey responses were related to, this is odd that it shows up. So the designer got it wrong on the expected backlash, it never happened. So they did the right bet, apparently. Watching the buzz on Twitter, it's scary how well Spotify Discover Weekly playlists know me, like former lover who lived through a near-death experience with me well. At this point, Spotify's Discover Weekly knows me so well that if it proposed, I'd say yes. Discover Weekly on Spotify eliminates the need for a musically knowledgeable boyfriend. Now I can be single forever, economical. So quite a hit. So we have a winner. Awesome. But there's always a but, right? It didn't scale. Spotify was a single user with 75 million shared playlists that changed every week on the same day. The system was just not built to handle that kind of scale. And a lot of people knew this. They told the team this will never work. It's not gonna, the system won't support it. It's a bad idea. You shouldn't do it. Well, they did it anyway. The thing was that now they knew they had to undeploy it, of course. People were sad. Just like that, my Discover Weekly playlist was taken from me. I'm in mourning. I hope it returns soon. But now they knew it was worth the work to fix it. And they actually had to sort out a lot of tech issues. They had to enlist other squads helping them out, and it took quite some time and effort with involving lots of people to do this. And the point here to me is that there were so many reasons why this would not be a good idea. And in any other organization I work with, people would have stopped it. It would never have been allowed. It wouldn't have been prioritized. Managers wouldn't have said that, yes, let's spend all this time and do this big, bold experiment. If they weren't able to do it at a low cost, simple, easy, with a small group and actually prove that the idea worked, it would never have happened. But now we could gradually roll it out again. We knew it was worth the investment. We tweaked the marketing message, used the user's own language in the launch. We actually A/B tested our way back to Discover Weekly in English for all countries. It was perceived more as a brand in itself, actually, using the English language. We used the Twitter buzz that had been so awesome in the marketing campaigns that we launched around it. Tweaked the packaging even more, polished it up a little bit. And it was a huge success. Discover Weekly reaches 1 billion tracks streamed in 10 weeks. That's awesome. Monday mornings, I take a bath and listen to Discover Weekly. Get really excited and started crying a little because I realized tomorrow is Monday and Spotify is making me a new Discover Weekly. It's actually so sad how excited I get for a new Discover Weekly on Spotify every Monday. Hence the claim that we accidentally fixed Mondays. Mondays are now something people look forward to instead of dreading it and the work week starting all over and so on. I really like this Twitter thing. Tom Conrad, okay, everyone is right. Discover Weekly is absolutely perfect. Anyone who knows who Tom Conrad is? Well, he was the co-creator of Pandora, Spotify's biggest competitor in the US at the time. So that's a pretty good statement from your competitor. So we believe at Spotify that the ingredients of successful innovation is you put people into a fail-friendly environment, people and problems, with cross-functional teams, where it's okay to throw things away and fail as long as you learn. You have enough slack to actually try different ideas, success metrics, and a feedback infrastructure with user testing, so you can have a feedback loop and actually learn if you're doing the right thing. Should we do more of this or less of that? And then awesome new stuff will come out at the other end. And I've been telling this story a few times when this interesting interview appeared in Fast Company with the CEO and one of the founders of Spotify, Daniel Ek. And it was great to see that in one of his few longer interviews, he actually supported this story really well. Fast Company says, "You've had some pretty successful consumer rollouts like the Discover Weekly personalized playlist. I would have killed that if it was just me, 100%. Why would you have killed it? I never really saw the beauty of it. I questioned them 2, 3 times. Are you sure you really want to do this? Why are we spending all this time and energy? For a while, we didn't give that team any more funding in terms of headcount, but they kept working on it anyway. All of a sudden, they shipped it. I remember reading about it in the press. I thought, oh, this is going to be a disaster. And then, obviously, it turned out to be something really successful. It's one of the most loved product features that we have. There are lots of things in this company that I didn't think were good ideas that turned into some of the best things. And then it goes on to mention lots of other things that other people invented. I think this really shows the power of autonomy, where so many people on a high level were saying, no, this is a bad idea, let's not do it. Even the CEO and founder of the company said, this is a bad idea. But this is not a hierarchy of authority. It's a hierarchy of competence and customer focus. If you can supply people with an environment, with tools and frameworks to actually test ideas and prove what's a good idea or a bad idea, you don't need the hippo prioritization of the highest paid person's opinion to choose, should we do X or Y? You actually show through an experiment which idea has the most merit. And you do it in small steps so you can quickly and easily find out, is this good, is this bad, and move in the right direction. So, in conclusion, we believe that innovation can't be forced, just enabled and encouraged and supported. Managers can't make innovation happen, but they can create an environment to support it and to stop it from being killed. Thank you for your attention, and I hope technology will be with us and I will be able to answer your questions. In the event that that won't be possible, I welcome your questions. You can email me at joakim.sundén@gmail.com or reach me on Twitter or on my website. There's a contact form. Please reach out. I'd be happy to talk to you more about these things. And I hope you've enjoyed the conference so far, and I hope you have a great rest of the conference as well. Thank you.